What if the move that flips the West is already in motion quietly, surgically, with the kind of silence that only means the phones are actually hot? What if the one-hole Lakers fans have been circling for months, the two-way wing who guards stars and hits big shots suddenly has a name attached to it, a plane on standby, and a framework that's closer than anyone wants to admit publicly? And what if I told you the moment to strike isn't February? It's now? Here's my promise to you. Stay with me, and I'll show you exactly why the temperature changed this week, what the front office is signaling with its behavior, the blueprint for how this would slot into the rotation on day one, which contracts and protections actually make sense, how the locker room chemistry adjusts on both ends, and the one red flag everyone keeps whispering about behind the scenes. I'll lay out timelines, leverage, smoke screens, and the hurdle that still needs to break. When we get to the middle of this video, I'll give you the name and the real status, no coy games. No half-truths, then we'll separate what's fact from what's speculation and finish with my honest verdict. You're watching Lakers News Fan Report. If you ride with this community, subscribe, drop a like right now, and turn on notifications. We do this every day with urgency and receipts because banners aren't one-on accident. Let's set the stage the way front offices actually think. The Lakers' needs aren't a mystery. A wing who can defend primary scorers, survive in the switch, live in the corners on a fence without complaining for touches, and punish mismatches when stars bend the floor. That's not a role player. That's a playoff piece. It lets you stick to two high defensive rules without panic tags. It keeps your late-game menu open because you can run your best pick and rolls without having to hide someone on the other end. And it says something powerful to the rest of the roster. We're eliminating excuses. This is why lead people kept using the phrase two-way wing all summer. Translation: someone who doesn't cap your ceiling in May. Guards are everywhere. Bigs are expensive and clunky to swap in series. But wings win the coin flip possessions that decide 4-3 and 3-4 in a 7-game set. When you slot a real two-way wing next to your star engine and secondary creator, suddenly the fourth quarter looks less like survival and more like control. You defend their best scorer. You rebound with length. You run, you flatten matchups. You're alive. Now look at the signals. The chatter didn't start with a leaked name. It started with behavior. Quiet meetings. Framework calls that don't die after one pass. A willingness to revisit pit protections the team had been stubborn on. That's the tell. When a front office starts asking for granular clarity on option years, trade kickers, and partial guarantees for the last slot in a 3-4-2 swap, it's not noise. It means they can see the board 2 moves ahead. And yet, until it's done, it isn't. This league is a museum of almost. Almost signed, almost agreed, almost announced. Deals fail on the last phone call because someone wanted top 4 protections instead of top 5. Because a medical flagged something that needed a second scan. Because the outgoing team decided to wait 2 more weeks hoping the market blinks. That's the poker we're in right now, Dot. So what does the basketball look like if the final card flips our way? You get a wing who doesn't need the ball to matter, but can use it when the clock bleeds. Second side bully drives. Short roll decisions out of inverted pick and rolls. Baseline cuts when defenses turn their heads at 1.8 on the shot clock because your star just hit the elbow. On defense, length at the point of attack, the strength to fight over screens without dying on the hip, and the discipline to peel switch without handing out layups. He guards 2 south and 3 south. He can survive on a 4 in small lineups. And he has the frame to keep elite wings honest for 7, 8, 9 possessions when the game gets sticky. The rotation slots in clean. With a legitimate two-way wing, you have 3 closing looks depending on game flow. Small and fast with your fastest guard group, balanced with the wing as your matchup piece. Or big and switchy when you want to choke the paint and run. That flexibility is the difference between calling timeout at 2:21 because you've run out of answers and watching the other coach burn timeouts because you're smashing matchups across the board. Let's talk mechanics without getting lost in the weeds. Salary matching for a wing at this tier is doable. It typically looks like one starter-level contract plus filler or two mid-tier numbers with a sprinkling of pick capital that determines who swallows the pain. The sticking points are predictable. Pick protections, top 8 versus top 10. The inclusion of your best young shooter or not, and whether the seller values a clean cap sheet over a shinier prospect. If the buyer pushes to keep swap rights flexible and a rookie wing out of the deal, then the seller will lean harder on the protection tiers and ask for a second asset, either a lightly protected future or a good rotational piece who can play now, and that's why the temperature jumped this week. The buyer's side stopped pretending they could fix the two-way wing problem internally. They pivoted to, let's pay a fair price, but not a foolish one, because waiting until February is how you burn 30 regular season games, figuring out what you already know. It's decisive. It's aligned. It's how you move like a team that's actually thinking about June. All right. You waited long enough. Here's the reveal that's got the league buzzing. Andrew Wiggins is one step away from becoming a Laker. That's not me selling a dream. That is where multiple signals converge. The player fits the exact job description. The salary tier matches what Los Angeles can realistically send out. And the lines of communication haven't gone cold after the first round of asks. One step away in practical terms means this. A framework exists. Key pieces are identified. The dollars line up. And the outstanding issues are narrow, not foundational. Think final haggles over how heavy the protection is on the first rounder, whether a swap is included in a later year, and which ancillary role player flips sides to make the rotation math honest. Both teams know what the shape of a yes looks like. Now, let's be adults about what's fact and what's speculation. Fact: the Lakers have been hunting a two-way wing, and Wiggins' name keeps returning for obvious basketball reasons. Fact: his contract structure and option year are the exact kind of numbers you discuss when you're serious. Fact: conversations have extended beyond the "hey, would you?" phase. Speculation: the precise asset mix, the timing of when it will be executed, and whether a third team is invited to absorb or send out a smaller contract to smooth the edges. Speculation: if his current team ultimately decides to hold until closer to the deadline to extract maximum leverage, forcing Los Angeles to decide whether to overpay now or risk the market changing later. That's the tension. Let's answer the only question that really matters. Is Andrew Wiggins still a difference maker on a contender? When engaged, yes, absolutely. He guards the guys you don't want your star guarding for 38 minutes. He runs the lane and finishes through contact. He's lived through the pressure of guarding elite wings in the biggest moments. He isn't coming to hijack possessions or headlines. He's coming to tilt a series. On a roster that needs length on the ball and a trustworthy corner, shooter who doesn't panic when the ball finds him with 0.7 on the clock. That's value you feel in your stomach. Role clarity would be simple. He starts at the 3 in most matchups, toggles to the 4 when you go small and switchy, and closes depending on his defensive impact that night. On offense, he lives in the corners and 45 cuts. Gets 3 to 4 design touches each half to keep the engine warm and empty side curl into the lane. A ghost screen to force a switch he can punish. A post seal on a guard after a cross match. Run him in the dunker when your stars draw 2. You'll find rebounds, tip-outs, second possessions. You don't beg him to create, he produces within the structure. Fit with the stars? Clean. Stars who bend defenses need stress relief valves who don't blink. Wiggins doesn't blink. He greases your transition game because he runs. He lowers your defensive blood pressure because you can place him on the other team's best wing without a full team bailout. And he's quiet in the best way, less ego, more edges. Give him a role and praise his dirty work on film. He'll give you the version that lifts a room. But we have to talk about the concerns because that's real journalism. Consistency of motor has been the critique. There are nights he looks like the best athlete on the floor and nights he floats. That swing series. The medical and recovery cadence matter too. Teams want to know he's fully right and ready for 28 to 35 intense minutes in spring. And the option year on his deal is a lever. Do you want to carry that number if you need flexibility next summer? That's where the pick protections matter. If you paid a fully healthy, fully engaged price, you better demand a fully healthy, fully engaged version. Cat reality. A workable path is there, but it costs something. You don't land a proven two-way wing for a playlist of second-rounders and vibes. It likely means one meaningful rotation player goes out, plus a mid-tier contract, plus a first with protection that both sides can live with. If the Lakers can keep their best young shooter and craft the protections cleverly, say, rolling protection that converts to multiple seconds at a certain trigger, they'll have threaded the needle. If not, you still do it because you're buying playoff possessions in April and May, not highlight reels in November. Timeline and moments to watch. The next 7 to 10 days are about leverage. If the seller softens because of long-term flexibility or internal depth at the position, the door opens now and everyone wins clarity before camp. If they dig in, this can stretch to the early season checkpoint around the quarter pole when teams reassess identities. Past that, the market gets crowded and the price rarely gets cheaper. How does the locker room react? Positively if you control the narrative. You tell your guys the truth. We're not replacing you. We're removing your excuses. Guards will guard less uphill. Bigs won't be late to rotations because they're terrified of blow-bys at the point of attack. Your stars will take fewer wasted hits because the ball will move earlier and advantages will last longer. Winners feel that in nod. And what about lineups? You'll see three staples right away. First, speed, small with Wiggins at the 4, switching, running, flying to the corners. Second, balance, traditional 3 next to a stretch big and 2 creators your default close. Third, strength, the big, switchy group for specific matchups where you choke the elbows and dare teams to beat length. Coaching staffs love having that third card. It breeds confidence because you're not praying for a hot shooting night. You're dictating terms. So where do I stand? I'm in at the right price. If the final step is protection details and one rotational sacrifice, you do it. You're not just buying a name. You're buying clarity in the fourth quarter of playoff games. You're buying the ability to guard the player who kills you in Game 3, so you don't bleed to death by Game 6. You're buying optionality small. Big switch drop without sending your star in the cover for everyone mode. That's worth a protected first and pain you'll forget in 2 months when you realize the floor looks wider and the air feels lighter. But I won't sugarcoat it. If the ass creeps into unprotected territory plus your best young piece, pause. Don't mortgage a half-decade of optionality to solve one season's problem unless you are absolutely sure the version you're getting is the engine raiser we've seen at his peak. This front office has to thread it, not torch it. Here's my final word to the room and to you watching. Windows don't introduce themselves. You kick them open. Andrew Wiggins. One step away isn't a rumor for clicks. It's a blueprint for how a serious team behaves when it knows exactly what it needs. If this breaks, expect the West to look at the schedule and circle Los Angeles with a little more respect and a little less comfort. If it stalls, it shouldn't be because the Lakers were timid. It should be because the price was dumb. Either way, the message is already out. This franchise is operating like banners are the only metric that matters. Tell me in the comments where you draw the line on protections and which outgoing piece you'd include, because if this happens, we'll be live breaking the rotation the second the pen hits paper.